Blessings, one and all, and welcome to this week's episode of the Message Podcast. I'm your host, Paul James Caden, and this week we are going to be talking about darkness everywhere. It seems everywhere we turn in the world, there's just so much darkness. It's in our politics, it's in society, it's in our religions. Everywhere you look, it's bad news and bad things happening, or people waiting for something bad to happen. It just seems that there's so much heaviness and darkness in our world today. And I don't know about a lot of you out there, but I think certainly we could use a little bit of light now and then instead of all of this darkness. And that brings me to a very interesting announcement I want to make this week before we get into the topic that we're going to talk about in the show this week. I mentioned a week or two ago on one of my shows, I was talking about spiritualism, and I mentioned that I used to have a show, Journey into Spiritualism. And I got quite a few responses to that show. People who had listened to my podcasts from the beginning, and some new people, some new listeners. And the folks that listen to my shows for a while say, I remember Journey into Spiritualism. That was a great show. Why did you ever stop doing it? It was educational. It was interesting. Whatever happened? Why did you stop doing that particular podcast? And then there were some new listeners who said, I didn't know you had a show dealing with spiritualism. This is a topic I've always been interested in. Geez, I wish you could bring that show back or do that show again. I'd be really interested in hearing it. So just out of a cursory mention of a podcast of old came this response. And, I'm really not interested in changing up my show again. The spirit side I started out with, that was my main show. It ran for a lot of years. It kind of ran its course, and I was looking for a different show to replace it with, and nothing ever really fit. I had a few iterations of the podcast. Nothing ever really felt right. Journey into Spiritualism was one of those shows which I really enjoyed. I have to admit, I enjoyed that show, but I stopped doing it because I didn't think a lot of people were interested in the subject. Not to mention, the uber fundamentalist religious people who will come and sling a lot of hash that isn't necessarily true when you're talking about a subject like that. So it lasted for a while, and I said, I just don't know if people really are interested in this show. So I discontinued it and went on to try to find something that fit. So that's what happened to Journey into Spiritualism. So again, people were saying, oh, bring this show back. I'd like to hear this show again. Oh, this was great. And like I said, I'm really not interested in changing up the format of my show again. I kind of like where it's at with the message. I'm content here where it is. But I told several people that wrote in, I said, okay, I'll tell you what. There is a certain graphic that if I can find it online, I'll bring the show back. I'll bring back Journey into Spiritualism. And the graphic was this flight of steps going to a doorway that was illuminated with white light, and there was a little person going up the stairs like he was headed toward this doorway to the spirit realm or into the light. And I don't know, for me, that show, no other graphic works for the thumbnail. It has to be that one. And I was 110% sure that I was not going to find that graphic on the internet because, I kid you not, about a month ago, I was looking for that graphic. I was going to update my blog and I wanted to use that particular graphic. And I kid you not, I searched for 3 days in a row, over an hour at a time, and I could not find that graphic. And I said, well, that's it. It must have been scrubbed. It's gone wherever it went. You can't find it anymore. Things come and go off the internet sometimes. It's apparently gone. And I searched everywhere. Couldn't find it. So I was sure I wasn't going to find this graphic. And I went online last week when I got some of these emails. And within 5 minutes, I found that particular graphic. And I remember my wife was in the bedroom. I was on the couch looking, and I remember saying, holy cow. And she was like, what? And I was like, nothing. It's just something I found on the internet that I thought was going to be impossible. You know, I didn't know this existed anymore. So within 5 minutes, I found the graphic. So those of you who wrote in, those of you who inquired, those of you that I replied to and said, if I can find that graphic, I'll bring back the show. We'll take that as a sign it's supposed to be. And I found it. I'm not, I'm really wasn't all that enthused about changing up the show again. I could have lied and said I didn't find it, but that would be disingenuous to people and also, to God. Because that was my thing. Hey, God, if you want me to revamp this show for whatever reason, people are hearing this cursory mention of it in this show, and they're contacting me about it, saying, "Oh, it was great, bring it back." So if that's something that's meant to be, then that's up to you to let me find this graphic. So that would be disingenuous to God as well, which I don't want to be. And some really interesting things happened after that. And now I have to admit I'm pretty enthused about bringing back the show. I have some ideas, and I think it's going to be really awesome. And those of you listening, don't worry. The show's not going to change like 100%. We're going to talk about spiritualism and things of that nature, but we're also going to still talk about current events and how they fit into a spiritual point of view. We're going to still talk about all that kind of stuff because that's just who I am. We're just bringing a little more spiritualism into the mix, which I was going to do anyway, that I mentioned on this show that I wanted to do. So interesting to say the least. And I kind of think it's a good move too, because like we were saying before, there's a lot of darkness in the world right now. And I think sometimes we need a show that's going to talk about what's happening in the world. We need a show that's going to make us aware of, the darkness when it happens, but we also need a show that is going to help point us toward the light. And there's not a lot of people doing that right now. There's not a lot of podcasts doing that right now. So maybe this is kind of a divine calling, if you will. And I hope you'll all continue to listen because spiritualism is a great misunderstood religion. Mainstream religion always says, oh, it's demonic, it's satanic, it's demons. But this is just not so. And we'll get into why once we get into that show and talk about those things. But for now, all of that being said, let's talk about darkness, darkness everywhere. And it is everywhere. It's in society, it's in our politics, it's nationwide. Everybody, it seems like, I talked to one of the other shows, like everybody seems like they just want to go to war, and fight and destroy and conquer. It's like we've been thrown back to the Dark Ages or the times of barbarians. And even in our religions, everything is darkness. You really can't find anyone that's talking about anything positive or love or, overcoming with faith. It's all darkness and devils and demons and the end of the world and, all these horrible things, the Illuminati and all this type of thing. So much darkness. We're bombarded with it, and then people wonder why they feel depressed, out of sorts, unhinged. Everybody's feeling the pressure and the burden of this. It's far too much for people to digest. It's far too much for people to carry on their shoulders and in their thoughts all of the time. I was looking on Facebook probably 3-4 days ago, and I came across this video by a person who was once a very popular New Age author, in the New Age religion, and she converted to Christianity. And this person had a link to a show. Now, I'm familiar with the show, but I didn't watch it. It's called The Chosen. It's kind of a take on the life of Jesus, and it was very popular. People like it. And, here this person on Facebook had a link to a guy talking about why we shouldn't watch The Chosen, how it's misinforming Christians and how it's deceiving them. And I went and I looked at her Facebook page and her YouTube channel, and this person is supposed to be talking about the gospel, the good news, but everything was, don't do this, or the devil's gonna get you, don't have these things in your home, and you've heard me say it before, where a lot of religious folks say, even a statue of Buddha in your home will draw demons and devils, and this kind of thing is being, perpetuated and repeated through this individual that I'm talking about as well as others, and it's just so much gloom and doom. The devil is everywhere. The demons are everywhere. The end is coming. You better believe the right thing or you're going to go to hell. They're going to get you. They're going to get you. I I left a comment on one video and I said, man, when did the gospel, which is supposed to be the good news, become the bad news about all the ways in which Satan is going to get us? This was not the message of Jesus. It certainly wasn't the message of the early apostles. So yeah, we're really living in a world where darkness is running amok. You turn on the TV, you turn on the internet, you read the headlines, and you're reading about terrible things that are happening or terrible things that are predicted to happen in the very near future. And folks, I know it's burdensome to always be bombarded with that type of thing. But it's like I've always said. Right now, unfortunately, as I always put it, this is man's world. Now we're here to learn. We're here to love. We're here to form a greater connection with God and with each other. We're supposed to be this, as they call it, this is classroom earth. And we are here to grow our soul, to improve ourselves, overcome our shortcomings, and be better people, be more prepared and evolved souls when we leave this world. And none of us are doing that. Well, I can't say none of us, but so very few are doing that. And I think this comes with, even in religion, with this new fundamentalist idea, Jesus paid it all. And that gives people license to do anything they want, think anything they want, act any way they want to act, because all they have to do is, air quotes, repent, and everything will be okay. But that is a Western evangelical interpretation of the message of Jesus, but it was not the message of Jesus or the early followers of Jesus. Yeah, they said Jesus died for the sins of humanity, but you still got work to do. And if you don't do that work, your faith is pretty much in vain. You can't say you believe in God, live like hell, cast it all on Jesus, and think you're going to, walk through the pearly gates, to the head of the line when you leave this world. It's not working that way. And, as the Riddler would say in the old Batman series, riddle me this, Batman, which makes more sense? That when you die, you're going to leave the body, this perfected spirit, go to heaven, no hate, all your mistakes forgiven, all your bad memories, you're perfect now, you're like an angel, and you go live in paradise and praise God for all eternity. Or, speaking of spiritualism, is it a little more logical to think once you step outside of your body, your soul, your consciousness is still you? With all of its thoughts and its problems and its foibles and its notions. And that when you step over into the spirit world, what you didn't learn here and overcome here, you will learn and overcome there. I go with B. When your soul, your consciousness separates from the physical body, you're still you. We can't bank on, living like a complete jerk and just think because we believe the right thing that when we step outside of the body, it's all forgiven and we're just perfect and we go on. It's not going to work that way. It doesn't even make sense that it would work that way. Because that's like saying someone who is a Muslim, good person, gives to charity, helps the poor, does all the things they're supposed to do, prays to God, fears God, loves his neighbor, never hurt anyone in his life. And he dies and he stands before God and God says, too bad, you believe the wrong thing, you're going to hell. But then someone who was a Christian, believed in Jesus, maybe this person was a politician, maybe this person believed in religion through conquest, they killed, they tortured, they abused or killed people that they felt were, inferior or had the wrong or a bad religion. All the terrible things that person did, maybe they went astray, committed murder, whatever it is they did in life, but because they believe the right thing, their actions are all forgiven and they get a free pass. I mean, does that even make sense? I mean, when we really think about it, it doesn't. It's like we're on a program that rewards us for bad behavior. It just doesn't work that way. You know, it's it's like getting caught stealing on your job, and an honest person gets fired because the honest person has black hair, but the boss favors people that have red hair. So you robbed the company blind, but you have the right colored hair, you get a pass and even a promotion. It doesn't work that way in our world, at least not in honest circles. It's certainly not going to work that way in the spirit world. So, I think that helps contribute to some of the darkness in religious circles. People think they believe in the right thing, and that's not only people. I'm not downing anybody's religion or picking on, Christians or evangelicals, because a lot of people in different religions do it. They think, they because they believe the right thing, they can act any way they want to act or attack anybody they want to attack. And that is certainly adding to the darkness in our world. And that's not what spirituality is supposed to be for. That's not what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to make us better people, more loving people, more courageous people, more faithful people, more peaceable people. It doesn't make us ferocious killers or spreading our religion by conquest or, attacking someone because, we don't agree with what they believe or how they live their lives. That's not what religion is all about. There's very seldom a righteous war. I'm a firm believer that God allows us to protect ourselves, but going out and just attacking people for no reason, verbally or otherwise, like a lot of folks are doing in this day and age, that's just not where it's at, and that's not how it's supposed to be. So, an awful lot of darkness in our world. And if you're listening to this show, I would say turn away from it. Try to step outside of that bubble and be a spectator. Look at what people are doing. Look at what mankind is doing. Are they passing the test of classroom Earth? Are they treating the planet with respect because this is our home and this is what God gave us? Are they treating one another with love and respect because we're brothers and sisters? Are they being loving? Are they being peaceable? Are they being people of the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you? Is that what we're seeing in the news? Is that what we're seeing in society? Is that what we're seeing online and even in other countries? Or are we seeing hatred and division and violence and killing? But see, that's not your reality. That's not my reality. See, I've mentioned on my show, numerous times, I watch the news, I read the headlines, and sometimes people will contact me and say, "Oh, you're supposed to be a spiritual person. What are you watching that stuff for?" Because I can do so with a different perspective. I'm kind of outside of the snow globe looking in. What is everyone else doing? But that doesn't have to be my reality. That doesn't have to be my response. It doesn't even have to be something that I'm afraid of. So what if the elites or if the Illuminati are going to, try to kill everybody? because they think they're the lords of the earth and, the masters of the universe. I mean, it's noteworthy to say, if we see this coming down the pike, be careful because these guys are about to do something, really bad. But to sit there and be in complete dread about it, fear about it, always just talking about it, being anxious over it. Hey, look, if we believe in God and if we believe in an afterlife and we believe that we go on after this to something better, something we can't even really wrap our minds around as finite human beings, then we know full well that this isn't our true and eternal home. Our true and eternal home is where we're going to go when we leave this place. And we're all going to leave this place sooner or later. And I don't thumb my nose at prophecy. There's a lot of prophecies in, the Bible. There's a lot of prophecy in Islam. There's a lot of prophecies in Judaism and other religions, even the Native American religion, about people driving this bus of self-destruction right over the cliff, and they may take a lot of other people with them before it's all said and done. We have free will in this world, and we can cherish what we have, or we can abuse and destroy it. But you don't have to participate in that abuse and in that destruction, nor do you have to fear it. You can turn toward the light. You can have peace. You can know that there is a higher divine intelligence in the universe. You can know that there are guardian angels watching over you and walking with you. You can know that there are good spirits that watch over you and try to guide you in your life. You can know that there is a life after death. There is a progression of the soul. Death is not the end. So if some madman somewhere pushes the little red button and blows this place to kingdom come, it's not pleasant. Nobody wants to see that happen, of course. But you know what? We're all going to move on to the next dimension of life, and it'll be sorted out there. And the guy who pushed the little red button, well, he's going to have not a very pleasant time in the afterlife. And that's something we'll talk about in future shows. In spiritualism, is there hell? Is there, what is there in the afterlife for those that do really lousy and evil things? There is a price to pay no matter how you slice it. Because like I said, we're here to learn, we're here to grow. And in spiritualism as well as spiritism, they're like cousins, in the world of religion and philosophy. Love is the greatest lesson we are here to learn. Love God, and it's written right in our Bibles. To love God with all our heart, all our soul, all our mind, all our being, and our brother as ourself, and our sister as ourself. Jesus summed it up that quickly. He said, by doing this, you fulfill all the law, And if we can't do that, and a lot of people can't, we as children of God, as people of light, we have to be able to pull back from all that darkness, not participate. Like I said, try to be, outside the snow globe looking in. Now, some of these things are certainly going to affect all of us, but we don't have to fear it. We don't have to sit there and beat our head against the wall and say, what if? Oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh my God, look what's happening now. Oh my God, the shortages. Oh my God, the gas shortages. Oh my God. these things they're going to happen. And again, they're, in prophecies that seers talked about thousands of years ago. And the early Christians believed, that prophecy was conditional. We could continue on the crooked path and run right into the wall of certain destruction and destroy ourselves. Or we could turn around, repent, which only means turning around and going in the other direction, and follow the road of love and light and make our lives better, make our world better. But how many times did we even hear Jesus say in the Gospels, be not afraid, let not your heart be troubled. Be not afraid when you see these things coming, on the earth. So we're not to sit around wringing our hands over what the bad guys are doing and what's happening in this world. It was foretold. It's going to happen. But what we do next is up to us. But remember those words, he who endures to the end will be saved. What does that mean? Endure what? Endure what's happening. Loving God with all of our hearts, all of our mind, all of our being, loving our neighbor as ourselves, walking in love, being people of kindness, compassion, and peace, even when the rest of the world is not. Holding on to our faith and our love and our peace until the end. This is what gets us through. And I think all of us who do that, I think we're going to be all right. I believe in miracles. I believe in divine intervention. Who knows what could happen when the rest of the world is going through, a literal hell. Maybe that's when the people of light really step up and shine and say, hey, look what God has blessed me with. Look what he's done for me. Look what miracles have taken place in my house. And this can happen for all of us if we just turn this boat around. Maybe then we become like the lamp set on a stand in the room or the city on the hill that gives its light to everyone. But we can't be overcome by the darkness. We have to turn away from it, not participate in it, and not let ourselves become overly worried or afraid with all of this. We got to keep looking for the light even when it is the most dark outside. So folks, I hope you got something out of this show this week. I hope there was something here that made you think or brought a little light into your day. So ponder these things, stay in love, stay in light, and I will see you next week when we're changing up to journey into spiritualism. And we'll talk more about this kind of thing and much more. I think this is going to be a great show, kind of a great revival of this show. I have some really interesting ideas and kind of a different way to come at this particular podcast journey into spiritualism, and I think people are going to like it. We're going to bring some different elements into all of this, and I'm actually excited about it now. I started out pretty reluctant, but now I feel quite positive and even excited about it. So I'll see you next week when we begin the journey into spiritualism. Until next time, again, stay in love, stay in light, and don't let all that darkness get you down. Remember, whenever you see a lot of bad things happening and it feels like it's just crashing in on your head and on your shoulders, imagine yourself being outside of the snow globe looking in. What is mankind doing? What is everyone else doing? Do you want to jump inside that snow globe and participate with them? Or do you want to stay outside of the snow globe and be the spiritual observer? So, folks, I'll see you next week. Take care and God bless.